Top of the morning, folks. Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time to the channel, welcome to the channel. It's good to be here. I'm Justin Brogdon. In today's video, we are going to, I'm going to give you guys the video that you've been asking for a long time, and I've been promising it to you for even longer. We're going to go through the whole process of how I built out my acoustic panels. That is the one question that has popped up on this channel since its inception. And it's not as hard as you guys might think, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to help make the whole process easy and to get the most effective result out of them once they're hanging on your walls. The one thing that I do want to say, though, is don't use this as a hard and fast instructional video. Take the concepts that we do here, make it your own. If you have a fabric that you like or that you want to use that fabric. If you already have some materials laying around that sort of fit the mold of what I'm using, use those materials. Just use the concepts in terms of how you get something that's a good, clean looking finished product. And let me know if you guys have any questions. If it's your first time to the channel, I do want to say welcome. And I'd like to invite you to click the subscribe button, turn your notifications on so you get notified when the videos come out, and drop me a comment. I would love to know where you're at and what you're into musically. Are you a studio rat? Are you a guitar nerd? Are you both like me? All those kinds of things. I would really love kind of connecting with you guys and breaking bread in the comments. And so I encourage you to meet me down there. I'm gonna finish this cup of coffee, make a few notes, and we're gonna go down there and get busy. Who's coming with me? All right, so we're down here. We're getting all our materials together, getting all of our tools together, everything we're gonna need to get the panels built. So I'm gonna build 2 panels today, and I'm using 1x4 spruce pine lodge pole, depending on where your poplar would be a good one. Really what you wanna use for this is whatever's cheapest in your area that you can get for the best price, 1x4s. I got 12-foot stock because I didn't have a truck and I had to fit them in my Tahoe. So 12-footers, we got them home, and probably get a price break on using 16s. Just something to think about. Whatever's gonna make this the cheapest route for you, do that. The next thing, you're gonna need to find some fabric. I finally found some of the fabric that I originally used from Jo-Ann Fabrics. You could really use anything you want here. The most important thing is that it needs to be breathable. The sound needs to be able to get through the fabric to the insulation that's inside of it. And so, short of, something that just doesn't allow anything through, you could really use almost anything. Obviously, you can buy Guilford, Maine stuff, and it's super expensive, and it's really good. But I can tell you, after having my panels, I guess for like 3 years now, I think that's right, they totally get the job done. There's a few hacks that I'm going to share with you guys, which will really help get the most out of your panels, regardless of what you cover them with. But you're going to need that fabric. You're going to need some insulation. I'm using Rockwool Safe and Sound. You could use Owens Corning 703. Really, again, you want something that is for sound absorption and something that you can get your hands on. For me, this is readily available. I got this from Home Depot, and it's what I used in all the other panels, so you can use that as well. You're going to want some weed cloth, weed film. I don't know what they call it, but it's what you would put in your garden beds to keep weeds from growing up. Really, this is going to go on the back of the panel to keep all of that insulation in and not falling out. So that's going to be very, very helpful. Again, you can get that at Home Depot or Lowe's or probably any of your building supply, hardware, outdoor stores in your area. What else are we going to need? You're going to need some sort of saw. I've got my miter saw set up just to make things easy on me because, it's going to allow me to get some really quick, straight cuts and make some, hopefully make short work of this. I'm using my nail gun today, but you could totally use a screw gun. I guess you could probably hand nail these, but I wouldn't recommend it. It'd be pretty tedious. But you're gonna need a tape measure, you're gonna need a staple gun, you're gonna need a pair of scissors. You're gonna need some safety glasses because you don't wanna shoot your eye out, kid. What we're gonna do is we're gonna build a box. These bats of insulation are 16 inches, so they're 16 by 48. They're actually like 47 and a half. So we are gonna build a box that accommodates 2 of those. So it'll be 32 inches wide, 48 inches tall. And that's what I've used in my studio. I like the size of that, and it allows me, I've got a few panels that are half of that. So you just have one. But again, this is more about concepts. If you want bigger panels, if you're trying to build clouds, you may want to use a different type of insulation, but the whole concept of how you would build it is going to be the same. We're going to make a box, and we are going to put a brace in the back of it. We're going to put 4 corners on the back of it. We're going to cover it in the weed cloth, and then you are going to fill that with the insulation, and then we're going to wrap it in the fabric. We're going to staple it all down and finish it, make it look really good. And then in the end, I'm gonna show you how I hang mine, and I recommend you do this as well. I'm gonna link to the fabric that I'm using, and I will say this, when I bought this fabric initially, it was on sale, so it kind of was a no-brainer. I got 2 different colors. I could only find a lighter color this time around, and it wasn't on sale. So I don't know that I would use this fabric again if I had to build all those panels, because it was like $30 a yard when I bought it. Before it was $10 a yard. So again, find something that you like the way it looks. It kind of goes with the vibe of whatever your space is, and use that. And more than likely, even if you're not sure if it's gonna absorb sound, it probably will. And you can always make one and just kind of test it, and you'll know. It's easy enough to pull the fabric back off and rewrap it if you want to go that route too. And you know, frankly, I might do that at some point, just buy more fabric, and the panels are structurally built very well and easy to get on and off. Also, I wanted to mention that what I'm not doing today is gonna wrap these in the 2x4s like I have on my clouds and in my, on the big panels in my studio. But all you gotta do is follow that same concept with the 2x4. All I've done is I built the panels first, and then I've wrapped them in the 2x4s. So I built a frame with the 2x4s. I took a blowtorch. You can get a flat roofing torch, hook it up to a propane tank, and I just torched the sides to bring out the grain in the wood rather than trying to stain them, because it can be really tough when you are trying to stain like spruce, because it doesn't evenly stain. So the torch method just made it that much easier to have to deal with. I did a pass. Take your time, and maybe try on a, get a piece of scrap wood and try that first. It's not hard to do. You can totally do it, and it makes a big difference in the room. It's the one thing that people always mention, whether it's in the comments or when I'm bringing friends or clients in the studio. They're always taken back by the framed out acoustic panels. So I hope you guys like this video. With that said, let's get these cameras moved around and let's start putting one of these things together. To make 2 of these panels, I'm gonna need 4 47.5-inch pieces, and I'm going to need 6 30.5-inch pieces, a 1x4 dealer's choice. Use whatever is cheapest and most readily available for you. That's what I would do. The reason that I'm going to need 3 of these, so the 47.5 is the length of the height of the panels. They're not quite 48 inches, and that has a lot to do with the insulation that I'm using. So that's how long it is. I want that to be snug inside of that. I'm using 2 pieces of it. So the 47.5 is going to get me the height. Within that, I'm going to need 30.5 inches inside to get the total 32 inches on the full panel, and that'll be 2 pieces of insulation crammed in there. I'll have a top, a bottom, and then a back brace on it, middle bracing on it. So that's what I need the 3 for. And then I'm also going to have 4 corners for each one of them, and we'll discuss like best practices on the corners. One thing I do recommend, a quick tip for any of you guys who maybe aren't necessarily home project or construction savvy, I would recommend that with the 1x4 that you find some sort of straight edge, and then cut the end to make sure that it is perfectly straight, because a lot of times at the mills and stuff like that, you don't get a perfectly straight edge where you start with. So that is a good pro tip for you. All right, you guys don't forget to put your safety glasses on so that you don't catch any debris in the eye. Another construction tip that I have for you: measure twice, cut once. So we need a mark at 30.5. Got that there. Let me double check that. 30.5. And I'm going to take this this square and make a straight line to help me get the best cut possible. And then be mindful of the saw blade is going to account for some width. So, you know, you want to cut on the outside of your mark. And then what I recommend doing to save you from having to be behind a tape measure the whole time is cut your first one, and that could be your outside rails or your braces inside, and then use that as a template so that they're all exactly the same length. Even if you're a little off on your measurement, as long as they're all the same uniform length, you should have great success. Having the miter saw definitely makes the job a lot easier. If you have just a circular saw, you could use that too. I could absolutely get away with it. And actually, I think that's what I used on my first panels. So we've got everything cut. Let's talk through it. We're making 2 of these panels. So I've got 4 pieces of 1x4 that are cut 47.5 inches long. That's going to be the length of them, right? Then I've got 6 pieces of 1x4s cut 30.5 inches long. And what that's going to be is the inside. We'll have a brace in the middle and the bottom, right? And we're just going to basically make a bottom. These are our outside corners, and these don't have to be perfect. You can totally scribe if you don't have a miter saw where you can cut 45s on it. You could just totally take a piece of 1x4. Once you have this frame built, put it over the top here, make some marks, and cut that with a saw, and get the job done. This is going to make a big difference in terms of the how rigid and sturdy these things are once they're built. And it may feel a little flimsy on the front end, but once you build these things out, and once they're wrapped, and with each step in this process, it's going to make the panel a lot more sturdy, and at the end of the day, it's just hanging on the wall. Get creative. The thing is, if you were to buy these panels from someone, it would cost you a lot of money. To be able to do it on your own DIY style and still get the look that you want, it's gonna give you a finished product that's gonna be better than if you had bought it from someone else and you couldn't use the fabric that you liked, that you wanted to use. They weren't maybe the size specifically that you wanted. And if you were to have someone make these for you custom, you know, I don't know what I would charge to make them, but it wouldn't be cheap. So just take that into consideration. Find a fabric that you like that works for you. It doesn't have to be Guilford, Maine. If you want to spend that money, you can. Really, the things you want to think about, the fabric needs to be breathable, because you want the sound to be able to get through that fabric and get to the insulation that's inside of there. Let's put one of these things together. All right, so this is my reference panel. This is one of the panels that's I brought from my studio that I'm building first round. If you have a shop vac handy, I would highly recommend getting your shop vac out. It's going to make your life a lot easier with cleanup. I also have my air compressor handy, so that if I need to blow anything off, just really not only keeping your workspace clean, but when you're finishing these, it's going to make your life a lot easier. This is landscape fabric. So this is actually what I used on the panels. You can see it shear, because that's the biggest part. Most important part is that sound and air can get through the back of it. So what we're gonna do, you can cut that with a pair of scissors, and then I recommend getting a razor knife, like a utility knife, something like this, that you can make a good, clean, sharp cut. tidy up. There you go, one down. Do that for the camera so you guys can see what we're looking like. And then we'll also, inside of this, there you go. All right. As such and such. Rinse and repeat. 2 staples on the end, 2 staples on the other end, and we just work ourselves to the middle. And there you have it. All right, next step. Just put some gloves on because you do not want to get your hands on this insulation without some. I mean, you can. It's not the end of the world, but you'll be glad you got some gloves. All right, so we'll turn this over. There we go. And once it's out of the bag, it's gonna settle in. You'll notice it's gonna be the perfect width for what we're doing. So, all right, so once you have the insulation in here, this is what it's going to look like. So you've got 2 pieces that are going down. You know, if you wanted, you could put a little stop piece flush mount on the back of this, but it's not necessary. Once you wrap this thing, it'll be all tucked into place. But you can see everything is built square. We'll want to tidy up that kind of stuff, get that here. And it's okay for it to be pressed in. Ultimately, what you really want is for this to be kind of snug in there because we're about to turn this thing over. Give yourself enough space where you can wrap these completely around the edges. And that's just going to be almost a perfect amount of what I need. And then what we're going to do is once we get these flipped over, you're going to really want to pull tight on these so that you are, you want this to be flat when it's done, right? You don't want it to look like it's sunken in or it's not, you know, perfectly flat. So if you can flip it like this, then you are going to use the pressure of the fabric to keep that thing in place. And this is what it looks like. All right, so here we go. This is it. Everything's in place. You want to make sure on each side we have enough to wrap. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start by just doing one in the center. Maybe 2, so you make it strong. And then we're going to get on this other side, and we're going to do the same thing. I want to get it snug as I can get it. You want to make sure that you're not getting any kind of things bound up in here. And you can always go back and fix it, because again, it's just staples. But the more you do on the front end, the more aggravation it's going to save you on the back. So again, just pull it taut because you want it to be tight. Let's flip it up, just see what it looks like. This is a Rammerville. All right, so it's dirty, but it's flat. And so we're going to go around the sides and we're just going to keep pulling it tight. And by the end of it, we're going to have a really good looking product. When you get by the corners up here, I recommend not stapling to the corners just yet, because we're going to do a tuck and get a good fold on here where these things look really good and really pro in the end. Out of bullets. We'll reload. I'm using these Arrow T50 3/8 inch staples, and that's, you can use, as far as staples go, use whatever you have. If you already have some, you could use 1/2 inch, 5/8, 3/8 is just plenty to get through the fabric, and seems to work really good on these. And if you're making a bunch of these, make sure you have a lot of staples because it requires a bunch. Once I get this side stapled, we'll take a look and just make sure that the fit and finish of it's good to go. Then I'm going to trim this back, and then we'll do our folds on the corners so we can get good, clean corners on everything. See what we got. And there you have it. So that looks really clean, looks good. We'll trim off some of this excess. Basically, this is what you're going to do. You're going to take this, you're going to tuck it like this. You're just going to make a 90-degree fold here. This doesn't have to be perfect, right? Because it's going to be on the outside. But you do want it as much as possible. Maybe I will go take that in. All right. So I'll first staple this. Then you can see what we got here. And that's it. That's your corner. So, you know, you can make this as tight or as loose as you need to, but it's gonna look really good. And then I fold all the corners kind of opposite ends. And that is close enough for me. All right. You see here, we've got a little excess. We just want it. What I want more than anything is from the facade of this, when it's on the wall, I don't want you to see any of this stuff, right? I want it to look super clean, pimped out. So we'll do that. Do that. 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 That's all she wrote, folks. Go out there and build you some panels. Drop me a comment. I'd love to know what you guys think about the panels, the process. Did I take any of the trepidation out of it for you? May have, like, there's a little snag right here. Just get a little hammer, knock that in. I got these off of Etsy, I believe, and I will try to find them. But one of the best hacks that I'm using on mine, on the back of the panel, I've screwed these little, I think they're 1.5 inch corks into the back of them. And what that's going to do is just going to keep that off the wall. So the way that I mount mine to the wall, I put a drywall anchor in the wall, and then I put an eye hook into it. So I'll make a little slit in the back of this landscaping fabric that will allow me to just have the panel sit on the eye hook on the flat part of it. And then the corks are going to keep it off the wall. And what that's going to do is allow the sound to get to all sides of it and absorb that sound reflection. And it's going to make a big difference in your space. And you'll be glad that you did it. All right, so that is it. Here we go. This is the panel. Again, they need to be vacuumed off and cleaned up. It's just down here in my shop area. But take your time. You can do this. These panels, once again, they're 32 inches wide, 48 inches tall. You could use one of these. If you wanted to make them half of that, you can make them 16 inches wide, just using one piece of the insulation. I have a few of those in some spots where I don't necessarily have room for the bigger ones. And man, for the amount of time I have invested in this and the amount of money, you know, you can't, in my opinion, this is just money well spent, because these look better than anything I could have purchased. When they're on the wall, they're gonna look substantially better. And I did it myself. You learn a new skill. It's scary at first, but you guys can totally do this. So take some chances, take your time, and drop me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about this video. What do you think about the panels? Once again, we've made it to the end of this video. If you're still going, man, I don't know if I want to subscribe to this channel. I mean, I like the video. It's kind of cool what he's doing. Hit the subscribe button, people. Turn your notifications on so you get notified when the videos come out. And drop me a comment. I just saved you a bunch of money and time figuring out how to build panels in your house. Make your home studio look like a legit studio. You didn't have to pay somebody $3,000 to do it for you. If you'd like to pay somebody $3,000 to do it for you, also drop me a comment. We all have our price. Until next time, I'm Justin Brogdon. You guys keep doing what you do. Keep making all the music. Keep getting creative in your home studios. And keep doubling down. We'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.